Hey everybody, Carlos Martinez here with the Grimaldo Group. Today I have a very important guest here, Sergio Rodriguez with Guaranteed Rate. So we're just gonna talk a little bit about the market, about some key points that on a buyer's perspective is important for you guys to, take into consideration in today's market. I know there's a lot of things going on out there, and you probably heard it. Friends, family, co-workers wanting to buy, family wanting to say don't buy. So we're gonna take it away here and kind of talk about a little bit on that. So Sergio, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Carlos, for the invite. It's a pleasure, everyone. So, right on, Carlos, there is a lot of stuff that you're going to hear from friends, coworkers, the news, this, that, or the other. So many things, right? But, all of those things are variables. They're what ifs. They're maybe. And you know what? When you do a transaction, especially one of the most important in your life, you have to just zoom in on what's the benefit, right?
Right.
And you got to keep it simple, right? So, Carlos, tell us, right? Simply put, right? What is the advantage to a buyer today?
Yeah, so there's many of them actually. One of the most important ones is recognizing that as a buyer, we are currently having the leverage right now, right? What does that mean is when looking for the right home, the right deal, or not just that, wanting to negotiate the right terms for you on your behalf, this is the time that you as a buyer can take advantage of that, because sellers are recognizing, everything out there going out in the real world. Affordability is a huge topic here. We recognize, that the interest rates are not in the favor of many buyers, right? So with that being said, there is ways. And what does that mean? So as a seller, that you have your home for sale, you recognize that, shoot, like I need to sell my house. I need to be willing to work with the buyer, right, to make it affordable for them. So therefore, as a buyer, you essentially have the leverage. Why? Because you can negotiate your seller concessions, which is your closing costs, right? Price reductions, perhaps. A lot of homes have been sitting on market as well. The average right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's some homes sitting over 30 plus days on market right now. So what does that mean? As a seller, you're either motivated or you're not. On a buyer's perspective, this is a time where you can really, by working with the right agent, the right team, lending partner, we can get all those, benefits for you: closing costs, seller concessions, price reductions. That's what we're here for, to negotiate that for you guys, so that we are able to lock in a great deal for you. And a lot of the times, people do think that, by waiting for the interest rates to drop, that it's gonna be their best, friend right there. And if you want to speak about that a little bit.
And all of that stuff is stuff that we can't control, right? The feds are going to do what, the federal government's going to do what they need to do to reduce inflation. But there lies the opportunity, right? And I'm a big advocate of keeping it simple, right? Rates, inflation, there's a lot of stuff, politics, all of that stuff. Again, we got to come back to simple, right? This is a buyer's market, everyone. So what does that mean? When you negotiate, you have the upper hand. That's when you want to negotiate, right? Mm-hmm. Don't wait until the cards are not in your favor, right? It's not going to be beneficial, right? So again, simply put, buyer's market, right? And many opportunities. Yes, don't worry about your credit. Don't worry about any of that. Let us take care of that. Like, we can guide you through. We can get you qualified today. And if not, we can give you a plan where you can quickly qualify, right? We have many scenarios, right, where credit hasn't been the greatest and we're still able to help, right? Not in every case. You leave that up to us. But simply focus on what the advantage is today, which is good prices, right? Negotiation of closing costs above normality, right? Where you can use that to lower your payment, right? Which is the most important thing. And then also working with the right realtor, which the realtor's number one thing is to negotiate for you, right? Carlos is a great negotiator. He works on a great team that's negotiated a lot of deals over the years. Again, repairs, things like that. Carlos, you know what? I think what's really awesome is to talk about live examples, right? We can talk about this and strategy, and I think this, but you know what? Why don't we just talk about, the client that we helped about 3 months ago? Tell me.
Yeah, definitely. So we had a client, for example, was looking to also, get into a rental home. But again, when you have the right team, the right guidance, we recognize the potential in somebody, right? And we're here to shine the light. Now, we're gonna guide you so that you can make the best and informed decision. But to get to the point, for this particular, individual, I mean, this guy just took advantage of, in a good way, of today's market.
Give me the terms, Carlos. Give me the terms.
I mean, the appraisal was over almost like $20,000 on his appraisal, right? So he walked into his home with equity. The seller was motivated, again, talking about the key points, motivation to sell. The seller was very motivated to sell, which therefore granted us and him the closing costs so that he can, not have to worry about it.
How much did he come in with out of his pocket?
I think under $1,000.
Like 400 and something.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the only thing that he was having to pay was his inspection. Appraisal was still good. I don't know if you remember that.
We got that. And again,
yeah,
everyone, we're going to, right now you have a good probability of negotiating a great price.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get a home that's worth a little more than what you negotiate. Why? Because the sellers are motivated. And this is another key point, right? That right now, most of the sellers, not all, but most of the sellers, they're selling because they have to sell. It's not a seller's market, right? So if you're a seller and it's not a seller's market, you're going to try to not sell.
Right.
Right. And there's a lot of people that are not selling, but the ones that do, it's because they have to. So what happens when somebody has to sell something? What does that mean to the person buying it? You're going to get a better deal than you would have if it's a seller's market, because in the seller's market, what happens, Carlos?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the seller's market, let's just say, for example, I'm the seller and I've got 6 people wanting my house. You know what I'm going to say? Hey, I'm going to lay back and chill. Send me the highest and best offer with the least, out of pocket from me. That's who's going to take the home. What does that mean? I don't want to pay closing costs. I'm not doing any repairs. I'm selling as is. Now imagine as a buyer having to compete with like what happened during COVID, investors from out of state, people from California, for instance, buying here, purchasing here outright, putting over 20% down on a home. That's the competition that we are bound to having once the interest rates do drop, because you as a buyer and 100 other people are going to be wanting to tap into the market to, make a move.
So this is a projection, right? If interest rates come down, right, 0.5%, 1 million more buyers into the market, right? Not in Arizona nationally, but that means that there's going to be thousands here in Arizona more. So more competition, prices go up, right? You lose the good price, you lose the concessions, you lose a lot of stuff. Sometimes, you're going to have to bid over the price that they're asking for, and that is not good, right? We want to just focus you on what we know. And what do we know? It's a buyer's market,
right?
Buyer advantage, right? And working with the right team, right, is going to give you the advantage. Now, we talked about, okay, well, what if I wait for whatever, right? It doesn't matter, right? People are waiting for, different reasons, right? Okay, well, Phoenix happens to be an amazing economy. Why? Because we have, medical, we have financial, we have technology, we have international money that's pouring in by the billions, right? And I got to tell you, right, I've been doing this for a long time, right? Very rarely, if at any point, do you see prices come down when there's so much money in the economy. Now, other markets could be different, right? Because you're going to hear stories in the news. They're talking about national. Are there places, right, that don't have those factors, that don't have that economic stability, that prices can come down and maybe waiting is a good idea? Not in Phoenix, everyone.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it. The growth here in Arizona has been crazy. The amount of jobs that have been opening here. I'm sure you have a new, facility opening right down the street from you. New employers coming into town, tax benefits that these companies are getting, and excuse me. So one thing that I can say, because I myself was a buyer at some point. I was uneducated. I was not sure. I obviously, I didn't know what I was doing. Is having the right partners, the right people to guide you and to really, really sit down with you and show you what is possible is very crucial. For example, we've had clients that, want to purchase and they listen to what their friends say, the family say,
the news,
it's a huge thing. And in reality, I mean, whose advice do you really want to take? Do you want to take advice from, a friend that bought 6-7 years ago, family that bought 10 years ago? The market has changed. Things change year by year. Somebody who bought 10 years ago and is telling you not to buy today, I guarantee you, if you look back in time and we take a look at the market, what it was 10 years ago, it was a complete different ballgame. Perhaps might have been similar, but as far as, the interest rates, but Arizona is not the same now.
Good point, Carlos. So look, a lot of times our family bought 10 years ago and they're giving you guidance on what, how they bought, which is different than today, right? And I guarantee you, they didn't look that, and again, they come from a place of love, but not of knowledge, right? Because they didn't look at homes that were 10 years before them. Right? If they would have looked at a house 10 years before them, would they have bought their house? No. Right? So that's not, and again, that's why I come back to the simple thing. What do we know today?
We know what the market is looking like right now.
Is it a buyer's market?
It's a buyer's market. We know the sellers are, a lot of the sellers are either sitting on the market or really have the intention and motivation to sell.
So if you don't own a home, or if you want to buy an investment home, if you want to do anything, right? Is this a good time to buy? You know what? The answer is, if it's a buyer's market, the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Right? And again, leave everything else up to us. The other thing is, it's simple, right? When you choose a team, right? I work with this team for over 10 years. They're amazing. Great negotiators, right? That's the number one thing. A realtor just does not open doors, right? They have to negotiate price, concessions, repairs. And they got to know things, right? If something is off with the deal because something that popped up on the property, popped up anywhere, right? Yep. You need the team, right, to guide you through a turbulence. And simply put this, I'm an analogies guy, and this is simple, right? When you get on a plane, a real estate transaction is like getting on a plane, right? You jump on the plane,
right,
and the captains are going to get you to the other side, right? Again, the Grimaldo group is great. I like to co-pilot deals with them. Why? Because we're going to get the client to the other side, right? If there's any type of little turbulence, right, you want people that have the experience, right?
Right.
To get you to the other side. Again, don't jump on a plane just with anyone, right? Give us a call, interview us, right? After a conversation with us, you're going to know we can fly a plane.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's a great analogy, actually. I'm a high believer in, taking advice from people who are giving results, right? If you look at, the stuff we do, the events we do, most of the things is for our clients. At the end of the day, we don't want to just tell you, yes, it's possible. We want to tell you, hey, this is what it's going to take. If you trust us, let's go. We're going to get you to the end of to the bottom goal at the end of the day, you know, which is delivering your keys. It's super important that you pick the person, the right, you know, lending partner, the right real estate agent who is gonna essentially voucher for you. You know, hey, I'm representing you as a buyer. I'm looking in the best interest of you. I know the market, I study it. We know what to expect. We have, you know, great partners who have been in the business for multiple years. You know, my team leader, for example, Juan Grimaldo, not only is a team leader, but he is a mentor, and he mentors all of us to really understand key components about the market. We're not just here to open a door. We're here to help you make your dreams come true, negotiate on your behalf, work in the best interest of you, and at the end of the day, make it a win for everybody. You know, Absolutely. The more families we help, you know, it's really, I don't even know how to explain it, but me being able to help out families is what really makes, you know, this job super amazing.
It makes it fun, you know, and at the end of the day, again, simple. Buyer's market, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a good time to buy, right? And another way, keep it simple, choosing your real estate partners, right? You know, just don't get on the plane with just anybody.
That's right.
Get on the plane with people with experience,
resources,
you know, results. We've gotten it done. We've gotten people to their destination, you know, safely.
That is correct. Yeah. So if you guys are planning on making a move this year, or you guys have had that thought within your family about, you know, finding out if it's even possible, don't hesitate. Let's take that leap of faith. You know, come and sit down with us. Again, you know, no obligation or anything. Our duty is just to help you guys set up a plan, show you guys what's possible at the end of the day, so that in the future, once you guys have everything lined up, if you have it now, great. But if there's things that need to be worked on, we're here. We're not just here to, you know, help you get what you want. We're here to prepare you for success and to make your dreams possible. Me and Sergio are, you know, always here in the office. We're here for the long term. So whether it takes you 3 months, 6 months, or a year plus, we're here once you guys are ready.
All right, everybody, give us a call.
Great. So if you guys do want more information, have questions for me in particular or Sergio, drop a comment down below or send me a DM. We're happy to have a consultation, a free in-house consultation with you guys, and just explain to you guys a little bit about, you know, what we see, again, you know, more in depth, what is possible. And if you guys are, you know, on the edge of not knowing if you're able to, let me just tell you this. How many clients have we been able to help who didn't think they could purchase?
A lot.
I
can tell you that, you know, we've helped, you know, every situation's different, but, you know, we've even helped people with under 580. They would have wanted, you know, under 580 FICO score.
Wow.
Right? Which
580.
Is, you know, and it's been plenty, you know, people wanting to sell their home. You know what? I'm getting divorced. I'm getting separated. I have to sell because I got to move. I got another job. Whatever that is, right? We've been able to help them, and we wouldn't be, you know, they wouldn't have been able to do it if we didn't have the products, right? The products that are gonna help, you know, get the transaction closed. So
that is correct.
Give us a call, drop a message. We're here to help.
You guys have the resources here. We're happy to sit down with you guys and have a conversation. And yeah, let's get you guys going and into your home. If you guys have questions or concerns, I'll drop my info down below. Feel free to reach out.